There comes a moment in every young life when the world seems too heavy, when the books feel too thick, and the dreams feel too far. Yet it is in that very moment that the spirit of greatness is quietly born. I want to tell you a story, not of a hero carved in stone, but of a student who sat just like you, unsure, overwhelmed, and often invisible to the noise of the world. This student did not begin with privilege nor with certainty, but with a simple belief that tomorrow could be better than today. And it was this belief that carried them through the darkest nights of doubt and the longest days of struggle. Their journey reminds us that education is not merely about lessons from books, but lessons of courage, resilience, and the unshakable will to rise. And as you listen, I hope you find a piece of your own story within theirs, and the strength to continue writing the chapters ahead with unwavering hope. Education is often spoken of as the most powerful weapon we possess, but its true strength reveals itself only in the lives of those who dare to wield it. Picture a young student standing at the edge of possibility, holding nothing but determination in their hands. Their days begin before the sun rises and end long after the world around them has fallen asleep. They study under the dim light of hope, pushing through noise, distraction, and the quiet fear that perhaps they are not enough. Yet every page they turn is an act of courage. Every lesson learned a small victory against the limitations placed before them. This student understands that education is not simply a tool for personal success, it is a doorway to dignity, a path toward lifting their family, their community, and themselves into a future shaped by their own hands. Their story grows from struggle, a home where resources were few and opportunities even fewer. But adversity became their greatest teacher. Instead of breaking under pressure, they grew stronger. Instead of surrendering to their circumstances, they found purpose in rising above them. They discovered that discipline is not a punishment, but a companion. They learned that consistency is not a burden, but a bridge to the life they dream of. And every time they stumbled, they chose to stand again, knowing that failure was not the end, but the beginning of deeper understanding. Along their journey, voices of doubt sometimes echoed around them, yet a louder voice whispered within, "Keep going." A teacher's encouragement, a parent's belief, or a friend's shared struggle became small sparks that kept their inner fire alive. For no journey is made alone, and even the strongest of us draw strength from others. This student began to see education not just as a path out of hardship, but as a responsibility, an opportunity to uplift not only themselves, but everyone who believed in them. They started to dream of reaching heights once considered unreachable, not for the sake of pride, but for the chance to return and build bridges for those still on the path. As time passed, their effort transformed into achievement. Where there was once doubt, confidence grew. Where fear once lived, resilience took root. And on the day they held the symbol of their success, perhaps a certificate, a scholarship, or the moment they finally understood a lesson that once felt impossible, they stood not as the same person who began the journey, but as a testament to what belief and perseverance can create. Their story is a reminder that we are not defined by where we start, but by how fiercely we pursue where we want to go. Education has the power to break chains, to open doors, to reshape destinies. And for every student who dares to rise, the world quietly waits to be transformed by their courage. A student rising from struggle begins their journey long before they ever open a book. Their story starts in the quiet corners of life where resources are limited, where dreams sometimes feel too heavy to carry, and where the world often reminds them of what they lack rather than what they hold within. This student wakes each day to challenges that would discourage many. Noise in the home, financial pressure, responsibilities that stretch far beyond their years, and the silent weight of self-doubt that whispers they may never be enough. Yet despite these barriers, something inside them refuses to surrender. It is a small spark of belief, a voice that tells them that though the road is difficult, it is still worth walking. Every step forward becomes an act of bravery. When others have quiet places to study, this student learns to focus in chaos. When others have tutors, they teach themselves with patience and persistence. When others have encouragement at every turn, they learn to be their own source of motivation. In libraries, in classrooms, or alone at a small desk late at night, they battle not only with equations or chapters, but with the constant shadow of doubt that asks, "Can I really do this?" Yet every time they choose to continue, they win a silent victory over that doubt. Their environment may not support success, but their spirit refuses to accept defeat. They understand that education is more than academic achievement. It is their escape, their hope, their pathway to a life waiting beyond the hardships of the present. They cling to this vision even when exhaustion weighs heavily on their shoulders. They remind themselves that many before them have risen from the same soil of struggle and turned it into the foundation of greatness. And so they press on. This student learns early that self-doubt is not an enemy to fear, but a challenge to overcome. Their journey forces them to develop resilience, patience, and a deep inner strength far beyond their age. They begin to realize something powerful. While they cannot control where they come from, they can shape where they are going. Their past may have been defined by limitations, but their future will be shaped by determination. As they continue to rise, their progress becomes visible. Grades improve, confidence grows. Opportunities that once felt distant begin to appear, and slowly the world that once seemed so heavy begins to open its doors. Each achievement becomes a reminder that struggle does not define them. Strength does. Self-doubt does not limit them. Courage does. Their environment may have challenged them, but it also sharpened them, making them more prepared, more disciplined, and more determined than ever before. This student's story becomes a living example that greatness is not born from comfort, but from rising through difficulty. And as they continue their journey, they show others that no matter where you begin, you can always rise higher, push further, and rewrite the story of your life through unwavering belief and relentless perseverance. Hope often reveals its power in the moments when life feels darkest, and for a young student walking through hardship, hope becomes more than a feeling. It becomes fuel. Imagine a student whose days are shaped by challenges far beyond their age. They may face financial struggles, emotional burdens, or the absence of guidance. They may feel the weight of expectations pressing down on their shoulders, unsure if they can live up to the dreams placed before them. But within these moments of uncertainty, something remarkable begins to grow. Instead of allowing adversity to silence their spirit, they use it as the very force that pushes them forward. This student learns early that adversity is not a barrier meant to stop them. It is a teacher meant to strengthen them. Every hardship becomes a lesson. When life tells them they are not capable, they learn to respond with effort. When circumstances try to limit their path, they widen it through determination. They begin to understand that while they cannot choose the difficulties that appear in their life, they can choose how they rise through them. And so, they stand taller after every setback, refusing to accept defeat as their destiny. In the late hours of the night, when exhaustion sits heavily on their mind, they push a little further, not because they must, but because they believe that perseverance will one day lead them to the life they dream of. The fear of failure, once an enemy, becomes a reminder that they care deeply about their future. Instead of running from fear, they walk through it, discovering strengths within themselves they never knew existed. Hope, once fragile, grows stronger with every challenge faced. It becomes a steady voice whispering, "This struggle is shaping you. Keep going." Through adversity, this student develops qualities that no classroom can teach: resilience, patience, empathy, and an unbreakable spirit. They begin to see hardship not as a punishment but as preparation. Where others crumble under pressure, they rise with purpose. Where others see obstacles, they see opportunities to grow. Each challenge becomes proof that they are capable of more than they believed. As their mindset transforms, their life begins to change as well. They start to excel not simply because they are intelligent, but because adversity has forged a strength within them that cannot be measured by grades alone. They realize that every long night, every sacrifice, every moment of doubt has been building them into a person who can handle whatever the world places before them. Hope does not erase their struggle, it elevates it, turning every obstacle into a stepping stone towards success. In the end, their story becomes an inspiration not because they avoided hardship, but because they transformed it. They show the world that adversity is not the end of the road, it is the beginning of a powerful journey. And with hope as their guide, they rise from every difficulty with greater courage, proving that even the toughest storms can shape the strongest hearts. Discipline and consistency become the quiet strengths that guide a student toward their greatest breakthroughs. These qualities do not arrive with grand announcements or dramatic moments. They are built slowly, day by day, through simple decisions that seem small but create powerful change over time. A student who chooses discipline learns that success is not achieved by inspiration alone, but by the willingness to show up even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. They discover that every early morning, every hour spent studying, every moment of choosing effort over comfort adds to the foundation of their future. Discipline becomes the force that transforms dreams into actions and actions into achievements. This student begins to understand that greatness is shaped not through occasional bursts of effort, but through consistent steps forward. Even when progress feels slow, they keep moving. Even when the results are not immediate, they continue to trust the process. There are nights when they feel tired, when the lessons seem too difficult, and when distractions or doubts tempt them to step away. Yet their commitment to their goals becomes stronger than their desire for ease. They realize that by honoring their routines, reading a few more pages, reviewing one more topic, practicing just a little longer, they are building habits that will carry them farther than talent alone ever could. Over time, discipline becomes their companion. It helps them focus when their mind wanders. It teaches them patience when success does not arrive quickly. It reminds them that every challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger. And as they continue with consistency, small improvements begin to show. Their handwriting becomes clearer, their understanding deepens, their ability to solve problems sharpens. With each consistent effort, their confidence grows because they see firsthand that their actions are shaping their abilities. Through discipline, they develop a sense of control over their life. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by their workload or discouraged by setbacks, they learn to break big goals into manageable steps. They begin to treat learning not as a burden, but as a responsibility and a gift. Their mindset shifts from, "I can't do this," to "I can do this if I commit to it every day." And that shift changes everything. Consistency teaches them that excellence is not a moment, it is a lifestyle. It is the quiet decision to get back up after failure, to try again after confusion, and to push through even when no one is watching. Some days progress is visible, other days it is invisible, but they keep going because they trust that every effort is adding to their growth. Eventually, the breakthroughs arrive. They grasp concepts that once felt impossible. They achieve goals that once seemed out of reach. They look back and realize that it was not talent alone that carried them here. It was their discipline, their routine, their persistence. The world often celebrates the victories, but the student knows the truth. The real triumph was in showing up every single day, even when it was difficult. And through this journey, they learn a lesson that will follow them for life. Discipline builds success, and consistency sustains it. The courage to believe in one's potential is often born in silence, in the quiet spaces where doubt is loud, where the world seems indifferent, and where a student must choose whether to trust the voice within or surrender to the noise around them. For many students, the greatest battle is not against difficult subjects or long study hours, but against the belief that they are not capable of achieving greatness. The world may overlook them. Teachers may underestimate them. Friends may doubt their abilities. Even family, out of fear or worry, may question the path they choose. But in the midst of these shadows, the student learns something profound. The most important belief is the one they hold about themselves. Believing in one's potential does not come easily. It requires courage to look at your weaknesses and still see possibility. It takes strength to acknowledge your fears, yet continue walking forward. This student learns that confidence is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision not to be controlled by it. They begin to understand that their potential is not measured by where they are today, but by how far they are willing to go. And so, even when the world offers reasons to give up, they find one reason to persist: the belief that they can become more than their circumstances. This belief becomes a powerful force. It pushes the student to raise their hand when they are unsure, to ask questions when they feel embarrassed, and to try again after making mistakes. Every small act of courage builds their inner strength. They start to see progress where there used to be confusion. They start to feel hope where there used to be fear. And slowly, they begin to trust themselves. Along the way, they realize that believing in their potential is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that their dreams are worthy, their efforts are meaningful, and their future is valuable. They stop comparing themselves to others and start comparing themselves to who they were yesterday. They stop asking whether they are good enough and start asking how much better they can become. This shift transforms their entire journey. With each day, their courage grows. They begin to attempt what others avoid. They volunteer for challenges that once intimidated them. They see failure not as proof of their limits, but as a sign they are pushing themselves into new territory. And as they grow, the world slowly begins to notice. Teachers see their determination. Friends see their confidence. Opportunities that once felt distant begin to open before them. Eventually, this student understands that the world does not decide their potential. They do. And by choosing to believe in themselves, they unlock the doors that once felt permanently closed. Their courage becomes a shining example for others who struggle in silence, showing them that belief is not a privilege reserved for the gifted. It is a choice available to anyone willing to trust in their own journey. In the end, the student's greatest victory is not just academic success, but the unshakable realization that they are capable, worthy, and prepared to shape their own future. Their courage to believe becomes the foundation upon which all their achievements stand. A student's journey becomes truly powerful the moment they discover not just how to study, but why they study. Until that moment, Learning can feel like a routine, pages to read, notes to memorize, exams to pass. But when a student discovers their purpose, everything changes. Purpose becomes the light that guides them through difficult chapters, the energy that fuels them during late nights, and the reason they rise each morning ready to try again. It transforms education from an obligation into a mission. It shifts their mindset from "I must do this" to "I am doing this for a reason." And that reason becomes the anchor that holds them steady through every storm. This student begins by asking themselves the deeper question, why am I pursuing this path? Is it to lift my family out of hardship, to become the first person in my home to graduate, to build a life of dignity, to open doors that were once closed, or perhaps to serve others, to contribute to society, to create change? Whatever the reason, that purpose becomes a burning flame inside their heart. It does not matter how small or simple it begins. What matters is that it is theirs. When they discover it, their steps become more confident and their efforts carry meaning. Purpose teaches the student that studying is not about competing with others. It is about rising into the person they hope to become. It turns ordinary tasks into meaningful progress. A difficult assignment is no longer just something to complete. It becomes part of the journey toward their dreams. A challenging subject is no longer something to fear. It becomes an opportunity to strengthen their mind. Even failure becomes easier to face because purpose reminds them that setbacks are temporary, but their vision is long-term. As this purpose grows clearer, the student begins to feel more focused. Distractions lose their power. They learn to protect their time, to prioritize what matters, and to stay committed even when motivation fades. Purpose gives them the courage to distance themselves from negativity and the wisdom to surround themselves with those who encourage their growth. They realize that every minute invested in learning is a step toward shaping their future. Over time, their purpose evolves from a personal drive into a source of inspiration for others. Their actions speak loudly. Younger students look up to them. Teachers admire their determination. Family members feel hope watching them grow, and communities begin to see in them the future leaders who will one day return with knowledge, compassion, and strength. Eventually, this student comes to understand that purpose is not just the reason behind their studies, it is the foundation of their identity. It gives meaning to their struggles and direction to their efforts. It transforms their journey from a series of tasks into a powerful story of growth. And as they walk forward with purpose guiding every step, they become unstoppable, not because the journey is easy, but because they finally know why the journey is worth every sacrifice.